exposed rocks in the area dated back from the Precambrian. Here we can see the Precambrian rocks represented by gneisses, migmatites, and remobilized equivalent, in addition to the Aswan granite, overlying unconformably by the rocks here, Malha formation and Wadi Malik formation, and then by the Abu Ballas formation, Bahariya formation. And here we can see also the Kaolin, of Kalabsha, called Kalabsha Kaulinite, in the Tariq sandstone member, and the Nubia formation, then the Dawi formation and Dakhla formation, and the tertiary rocks represented here by Korkor, Gara, and Dongal formation. And importantly, that the fault of the Kalabsha fault zone possesses a post-lower Eocene age, where it is remarkably affected the upper Cretaceous Nubia sandstone and the overlying value lower Eocene Korkor, Gara, and Dongal formation. Now we can see here field photographs of outcrops of the new Proterozoic rocks in this area. We have lowlands compared to the rocks exposed in the Red Sea, and some important features such as reduction spots in the Kalabsha Kaulinite. And here we can see the contact between the Kaulinite and the Kaolinitic sandstone in the top, and this is the weathering of Nubia formation. And this is, as a matter of fact, this is a fascinating structure. We don't have any idea about the formation of this. This is very good. I don't know whether it is a trace fossil. We collected this or taken this photo from the lower part of the Gilfa formation, east of Jabal Marg al-Sahab area. And here we can see Jabal Abu Marawa, as Dr. Abdel Nasser said. This is one of the quartz veins intruded along, or extruded or invaded along the Kalabsha fault. And what I want to address here is that, as my colleague Dr. Abdel Nasser said, the seismicity increases from the west to the east. We have field evidence indicated this, as in the western part we can see the breccia, the fault breccia, and when we go to the east, we can see the strong pulverization, strong cataclasis, and the intensive degree of shearing along the Kalabsha fault, and we can see the fault gauge, or what is called in Arabic the Tin al-Sudur. And here also we can see the fault breccia and and this is a fault gauge here near Jabal Abu Marawa, and this is a fault gauge. And in some places we have borers in the fault gauge, and reworked limestone also indicated that this fault is still active here also. And the reworked limestone also recorded in the western part of the Kalabsha fault. And this is a close-up view. And dextral sense of movement is indicated in many areas, such as here we can see the offsetting, or the dextral offsetting recorded in the Gilfa formation, and also the wrenching or the structural motion is indicated by the subhorizontal slip lineations. And as we have written in the abstract, this is not a pure wrench fault, but a transtensional shear zone. We have a combination between the normal folding and the strike slip motion. here we can see the electric normal faults here indicated that we have a dip component. And this is the Dakhla formation. Also we can see the offsetting and the normal faulting. And the Dakhla formation also we can see the normal dip component associated with this fault. Here we can see a gauge or fault gauge dissected by district normal faults, indicating that we have a combination between two types of movement. And here we can see also the subhorizontal strike slip movement and the dip component here overprinted this one. And important is that we can see the fault trace in many areas, indicating that this fault is still active here in this area, extended in the east-west direction, and here also. We have used the EMR technique, electromagnetic radiation technique, using the oscilloscope. In the last decades, natural electromagnetic radiation has gained increasing attention in the field of materials, material sciences and geosciences, and the EMR method is a tool providing the opportunity to investigate geological structures and the related stress configuration in a fast and low-cost way. The method is based on the property of brittle materials to emit electromagnetic waves when subjected to mechanical stresses. And for more information about this technique, you can see these two references. This is a oscilloscope used in our study, and we have selected two traverses crossing Kalabsha fault, B1, B2. Here we can see the Nasser there. And the data indicated that this fault is active as recorded from these peaks. The peaks indicated that we have an active fault, and the data also indicated that we have not only a single fault but a segmented fault. And based on the EMR data and map faults within the Kalabsha fault, the Kalabsha fault zone is not a single fault, but it is representing a major fault zone, an active set of steep to moderate dipping faults, most probably normal to oblique slip oriented east-northeast, were detected in the Kalabsha fault. These active features affected the upper crustal levels and demonstrate an ongoing deformation on this sector of the southern western Egypt. And now the main points emerging from this study. Main data attest ongoing activity along the Kalabsha fault zone. And as I said before, the Kalabsha fault is not a single or simple transparent ridge fault with dextral sensitive shear, but rather a broad dextral transtensional shear zone forming a sector in the southern Egypt. This zone plays a significant role in the structural shaping to the west of the Nasser Lake, and the east-northeast and north-northwest oriented faults form a fault system where in places the latter displaces the east-northeast oriented fault. And the EMR data and their results suggest a new phase of activity along the Kalabsha fault zone, with the direction of the main horizontal stresses sigma 1 is distributed between east-northeast and north-northwest direction. And finally, these faults point to an active fault system affecting such area and running through the Kalabsha fault zone. And thank you very much for your attention.
Thank you. We will entertain two questions. Yes, just there and there.
There's no need I would speak loudly. So just one question: how these how these faults or branch faults are attenuated to the west.
Alternative to the west. How is it alternative to the west?
Dying out beneath the Sinil Kaddar. This fault zone is dying out beneath the so-called Sinil Kaddar plateau.
So it continues.
It may be continued, but beneath the plateau.
You have
Please come forward.
Do you have no proper mechanism solutions that can confirm no type of faults?
As I said before, this is a part of the master thesis, and the part of this work will address the fault plane solution.
One last question,
Not a question. The comment that is about the collapsal fault. Collapsal fault actually, we traced it for about 300 kilometers extending east-west. And it is, our professor said, it's not just a single fault, but it is a series of faults extending, normal faults extending east-west, reaching the lake. And the most active point here of this fault is the one just below Mountain Marawa in the lake itself. And from the length of the fault, we could estimate the largest earthquake that this fault can generate. And it is, we found it is about 7 of magnitude. And if we have to attenuate this earthquake, this 7 magnitude to the dam is about 70 kilometers away. This magnitude will be very much attenuated to the dam. And moreover, we have made the trench across this fault, and we found that this fault has been reactivated 5 times. The recurrency across this fault is 5 times during the last 500,000 years. So this gives us the return period of the earthquake activity along this. Thank you.
Thank you. The next presenter is Professor Maghraoui, Seismotectonic Map of Africa. This is the IGCP 601 project, and just an article is already published on the episode, and I think you will have a lot to say. Thank you, Mr.
Okay, just before beginning, of course, I will extend my thanks to the organizers, and in particular to the National Research Center Geophysics in Egypt, all the personnel, the young researchers, and that are behind the scene. So I would like to present this project, named the Seismotectonic Map of Africa. And just a little of history. We began thinking about this project when the Organization of African Geological Surveys, they made a meeting in Algiers, and then they asked for specific work on this topic, and if a map would be realistic objectives. Then in 2011, UNESCO accepted an IGCP project, and we are having this work carried on since 2011. And this year, the map will be presented officially in the IGC meeting in Cape Town. So the map is the sum of different contributions, and you have here a working group that I coordinate, and that I have the privilege and pleasure to coordinate, where there is Hisham Hussein and Mohammed Al-Kabri from Riyadh, Egypt, Atalaya Eli from Addis Ababa University, Atiba Bekoa from Buea University in Cameroon, Nganai Midzi and Magda Rus, Magda being the person in charge of the GIS, Council for Geoscience in Pretoria, Paulina Amponsa from Ghana Atomic Energy Commission, Jileri Benoit and Hakim Ayedi from University of Algiers and the Research Center in Geophysics in Algiers, Nasser Jabour and Youssef Moulali from Research Center and University of Mohammed V in Rabat, Morocco, Abdel Noor Ben Suleiman from University of Tripoli in Libya. He's not here because of we know the reasons, but we really needed his contribution. Damien Delvaux from the Musée Central de l'Afrique in Belgium, Mourad Bouzgoud and Rui Manuel Fernandes from the research institutions in Portugal. First of all, what we did, we divided the continent into 6 provinces as a function of of course, the seismotectonic characteristics, but also as a function of the possibilities of the researchers and the working groups. The first province is here. It's the West Africa. Then the second is Northwest Africa. The third is Northeast Africa here with Libya and Egypt. Then the fourth is Central Africa here, crossing all the way from Congo through Chad and Niger. Then the fifth province is the East Africa, that includes the East African Rift. And then the sixth province is the Southern Africa, that includes Southern Angola, Namibia, Mozambique, Zambia, Zimbabwe, Malawi, and so on, and Botswana. So here in this map you see that there are earthquakes. There's no question. While before some people they were thinking, oh, maybe seismotectonic or seismicity, seismic activity in Africa, except for the East African Rift or North Africa, it's very little, very negligible. But this is not the case, and we hope we are going to show this. This was our objective, was to build a seismotectonic database, and we did. We have a large database now, and anybody can have access to it once the work is finished. We are looking forward for regional seismotectonic models now. We would like to implement studies on earthquake and tsunami hazard among the young people, the young researcher, through the training, for instance. And what aspects that really I'm proud of it is the direct cooperation between African researchers. Because before that we did know each other, but we did never work it together. Me, Atalay, and Wunganai, and Atiba Bekoa here, we didn't work together really. And now we are working together, and we meet at least once a year, and we do some work together. What is the seismotectonic analysis? Somebody in Southern Africa, I remember 4 years ago, during the Congress of African Geology, asked me, but what is seismotectonic? It's only putting seismicity on a tectonic map. I'm sorry, this is not the case. We wanted to understand how faults generate earthquakes, even in some regions of intraplate seismicity, for instance, in Africa, not only from North Africa and for the East African Rift. We would like to understand more about crustal structures, seismogenic layers, and strain rate. We have been discussing this morning about this aspect of strain rate and the elastic rebound of the seismic cycle, the importance of this in the African continent. What is a preseismic movement? What are the preseismic movements? What is the preseismic rupture? What are the preseismic ruptures? What is an after-slip and post-seismic relaxation? We need to understand this in the framework of the African continent. The interseismic loading, stress and strength build-up is also an important aspect that we were looking after and try to understand the pre-seismic deformation and look for long-term active deformation through the paleoseismology, for instance. When I say long-term, is 5,000, 10,000 years. We need to understand how the faults, they generate earthquakes through a long time, and they generate light earthquakes. Then the development of mechanical models of faulting behavior. This goes to some modeling on the seismic dislocation, for instance, and also on the dynamic rupture, for instance, during earthquakes. After I mentioned about the regional seismotectonic models as well, so I'm going to say something about it. And then seismic zoning and seismic hazard assessment, regardless of the seismic risk, of course. After this is the end product after this. This picture is just to the Machaze 2006 earthquake, and we see the faulting here and the surface offset here, which is impressive. Field observations. The map is based basically on field observations, not only on catalogs and remote observations. Because many of us and many of collaborators, after the working group, collaborators, they provide us with information on where are the earthquakes, where are the surface faulting, how they are, and the detailed studies on these earthquakes. Let's take a look here, for example, in northern Algeria, we experienced large earthquakes with damages in the last 30, 40, the last century, with heavy damage. And I'm going to show you a picture about the largest earthquake actually that occurred in the Western Mediterranean, which is here a 7.3 earthquake that took place in this region here, along the plain boundary here in North Africa. So here is a picture of this the impact of this earthquake at the surface. There is a surface faulting crossing here and buckling this railway, and so this earthquake has been studied in detail, and it was a cornerstone for all the earthquakes linked with the surface faulting and folding worldwide. And so this is one aspect, one type of observation that we use. Of course, there are other earthquakes, like I mentioned about Machaze, but there are some other earthquakes along other regions, This is the type of damage that you have when you experience such an earthquake. It's not just a simple cracks on houses, but really heavy damages like this, with this type of bad construction, of course, and the bad constructions is an important aspect of the seismic hazard, the seismic risk in Africa. So these field observations are very important in the frame of this seismic tectonic map, for instance. I move here, for example, are the kind of observations, field observations made by our colleague Damien Delvaux on the faulting. The faulting here mapped along the Rukwa basin here, and this is also the kind of details that we needed to include into the seismic hazard map. These are only two examples. There are many other routes that we took and included in the seismotectonic map. This is, of course, the Kanda fault system going all the way here. This is the fault scarp that we can observe here, and this is about 150 kilometers long, related with a 7.4 earthquake in 1910 in Tanganyika at that time. So this is the kind of observation related to earthquake faulting that we were looking after, and we have now a list in the database of these earthquakes with the seismic faulting parameters. Data collection, I mentioned some of them, but we're using all kinds of data collection here, satellite images, digital elevation models, of course. The major faults, we focus on late quaternary, Holocene, maybe ecoseismic activity, and so on. I mean, we distinguish between the different types of faulting. I'm going to show after. Then, after you have the background seismicity, historical seismicity, distribution and characteristic of active volcanoes, because the volcanoes are part of the seismotectonics of the map. Geodetic map, major tsunamis as well, the list of major tsunamis. Of course, focal mechanism of earthquakes and geophysical maps for the gravity, magnetic, seismic profile, tomography for the crystal or the lithospheric structure. So this is the kind of data that we have been compiling to prepare the map. So I will show you now some of the detailed regional seismic tectonic models. This is one we did a few years ago in North Africa with the collaboration of our colleagues from Morocco, Tunisia, and Algeria. And you see here quite nicely the plate boundary crossing, and you see here the number of earthquakes and the focal mechanism. For example, here characterized by these thrust faulting. Here more on slack slip faulting here in the Al Qusayma region that was presented this morning. And here in Tunisia, where the seismicity is moderate, but still you have some mechanism here like thrust faulting, most of them here with earthquakes 5.5. But we observe here that there is a clear limit here between the African platform and the northern Atlas mountains, and there is also a high plateau here without seismicity. But you have some earthquakes here in the plateau still. So these are also here in southern Morocco. You have also these earthquakes that are in the anti-Atlas, and these are peculiarities in this activity. If I move to the northeast of Africa, we have here Libya with the well-known activity here, and the large earthquakes magnitude 7 in 1935, and here the seismicity of Egypt with the here the major earthquake here of 1995. Other earthquakes here along the coastline here. For example, this one here with a thrust faulting. Another here normal faulting, strike slip here in the Kalabsha fault, along the Kalabsha fault that has been mentioned previously, and normal faulting here along the Red Sea Rift. So this is East African Rift here. You see that earthquakes are all along here from the Red Sea, Gulf of Aden, here the Afar region, going down to the main rift system, second branch of the rift system, and of course in each of these maps, what we do, we have different layers. We have layers for faulting, layers for historical seismicity. We have a layer for instrumental seismicity, a layer for focal mechanism. Here everything is in the same map, but we have the possibility to distinguish between all these layers. 3 minutes, yeah. And this is the map of the southern Africa with the major Machazi earthquake here, normal faulting, and other faults here along the Okavango here that it's quite nicely shown, and here other earthquakes here in the Cape Town region here, the major earthquakes here, and also in this region, the Karo region here around Johannesburg, which is also a major region with a major fault, perhaps linked with mines, but I think there can be also crystal earthquakes in this region. Not forgetting about Madagascar and also the activity here with faulting. And there has been a nice poster on seismotectonic of Madagascar. Map items. Not going to the detail of this. Perhaps some of you saw the poster in the upper deck. But seismicity is up to 1900 historical seismicity. Historical seismicity, we converted everything in MW, and there has been a large effort done in the conversion and homogenizations of the earthquake catalog. So we succeeded to have a catalog with MW from 1900 to the present days, major active fault, focal mechanism, and so on. I'm going rapidly now and showing you how we proceeded. So the first, we had this kind of map with some historical seismicity, not much here, but background seismicity here. Then after we move it further, having more and more data with focal mechanisms, for example, in this case. Then with some active and all volcanoes here and here along the rift. Then the active faulting, let's say late quaternary age, see, and this has been improved as well. What we put here, we put the background faults taken from the tectonic map of Africa in blue, but the black lines are those faulting that affect the late quaternary units. This is what we have chosen. And a more completed map further. Again, one of the last version. You see here that we increased the number of earthquakes and the focal mechanism here, right in the middle of in the Hogar, and also this focal mechanism in the southwest of Egypt, and also this volcanic line here, and also further more earthquakes here that delineate the plate boundary. And finally, this is the version that we would like to publish. and this will be published by the Commission of the Geological Map of the World and UNESCO. And here we can see all these details, all the seismicity here that was considered as a seismic or very stable, but this is not that stable when you see all these historical earthquakes here in Ghana. And also this volcanic line here, which is nice. This last earthquake here says 6.1 or 6.2. I don't know, Hakim, you can correct me. Here in Chad, and some seismicity here in Niger. So all in all, I think we discovered new things with this seismotectonic map. And the next step will be now to develop these regional seismotectonic models and have a more seismic hazard. This was just published now. There's a paper published in Episodes, just issued in the volume of March. So I have the PDF. Those who are interested can ask me. The stress regime was also one important target in this project. And you see that we have stress regime not only along the Eastern African Rift, Southern Africa, Northern Africa, but also here in this so-called stable region. Here, for example, this is stress calculation here, and also here. So all these information are new, and you do not find them in other maps. Then finally, the geodesy. These are all the sites, the GPS sites here, or on this in these regions. And you have here the opening velocity here, and also the convergence velocity here. So we know all along we need more data and more calculation here in the inner part of the continent. But you do have some information here either published or not published for the continent. So we do know here about the clock, strain clock in the African continent. The GIS is also an important part of this project, and there is now a site that will be also available publicly, since the map will be officially presented during the International Geological Congress in Cape Town. And some perspectives, I mentioned about them, so I'm not going to. One aspect is the end product, which is the risk analysis, prevention, and early warning system. So this is aspect that will come after this map, that we would like to continue this work and develop. Now, actions mentioned about the Congress in South Africa. This is picture taken in Namibia in September 2011, and this is in Agadir in May 2013, thanks to the organization of Alaïdine Bafoul. And this is in Johannesburg in January 2014. Now the project will end officially in 2016 in the International Geological Congress, and we would like to emphasize the regional maps, the seismic hazard assessment that we will prepare right after, and perhaps another project. These are the supporting institutions, and thank you. I think it's.
All of your time. I will just only one question, very short. Only one question. One question. Otherwise, Mustafa is here in Canada. Yes. And the next presenter is Saleh. Mohammed Saleh. The animation is there. So, it's around the northern Aswan, using this
علي صوتك علي صوتك على ما نكمل حل لا عشان لا
Okay, today I'm going to show you some results of the recent coastal operation around the northern part of Lake Nasser using GPS and INSAR data. Firstly, this is my outline. I will give you just a small background about Egypt in general and the study area, and then a few slides about the coastal operation starts in Egypt and using GPS techniques, even for permanent stations, and a few slides about the study area and the abuse of my work, as you see here. I have used GPS and INSAR. I will show you the available data from each data type. I will show you the available data from each data type, even GPS or INSAR, and the processing speed and achieved results, and finally the conclusion and output. Here, if we look at the figure to the left, we can see the map of Africa, and Arabia and southern part of the Russian plate, and here we have the plate boundaries, and here we have the seismic activities recorded between 1976 and 2012. The focal resolution is from global CMT, and as you see here, the boundaries for the seismic activity clearly define the boundaries between plates, as we see here. Egypt is located here in the northeastern corner of the African continent, and is influenced historically from the north by subduction between Nubian and Russian plate, and from the east by the breeding Gulf of Seal and Gulf of Africa. Focusing on Egypt, here we have the surface faults in Egypt, and here we have the seismic activities recorded before 1997, the date of the establishment of the Egyptian government, the Egyptian National Seismic Network. And the definition of this network looks like this. So we have seismic activity is highly localized or directed, and the Gulf of Africa, Cairo, and inside it we have some seismic clusters. Here is Cairo, here is Aswan, and area. After Aswan excavated in 1981, the Riyadh started a national project to study the recent coastal movements and exhibition of activity around the northern part of the country, Egypt, and they used at the beginning the terrestrial techniques, and later they used GPS. First, local geodesic was around Cairo, was established have the seismic activity recorded from 1997 to approximately 2014. And we see the seismic activity highly localized along the intersection between Sinai and with and here we have our local network. So this work I will show you the results from the GPS station here. And here we have the available GPS data from this network. Here we have about 20 campaigns from 2008 to 2015. And the process amount of data I have used in addition to the data from the local that's one I have used 54 permanent stations from different sources, IGS, EPA, SUPA, and UNAPO. These 54 stations were included in the ITRF 2008, and I have used these stations for that definition, and I have used the data was processed 5.0 from that at 2006. So the processing it works like this. So we have the Bernaysian solution which contains the data definition, the coordinates, residual and various matrices, and we combine all the data solutions in just one combined solution. But we still have some discontinuity, some critical effects, residuals and offsets. So we should correct for these effects, and then we should have a clear combined solution in order to have the linear parameters, the coordinates and velocities, and the non-linear parameters which are also clear. We can use this clean solution in order to make some further analysis like polar conservation and relative velocities and strength. Here an example for the actions that we have done, and here this towards the left-hand side. This column shows the time scale for station Al-La'i, which is east of the lake cluster, and here we have the residual. So for the north, east, and south component. For the north and east component, we have a very small residual, so we expect a very good estimation for the velocity here, but we still have something up there in some residuals in our another example for station Yumi, which is north of the highway. Again, we have for the east, north and east, we have small houses, residuals, but we have larger, sorry for the bad description, but we have here not much scattering residuals towards our. For the result, here we have the absolute horizontal velocity field, the ITRF 2008. And we can see that all the GPS stations in this part are moving toward northeast direction with magnitude about 30 plus or minus 1.3 millimeter per year. The absolute horizontal velocity field, it means that we have the velocity of these stations in addition to the velocity of the plane itself. But in order to the velocity, the absolute horizontal velocity field is not useful for ecological interpretation. Therefore, we should subtract the velocity of the local plane, and in order to get just the local information in this field. So I have used my other point that I estimated last year, my PhD work, in order to subtract the velocity of the Nubian plane from velocities of the stations and use the local estimations in this part. And this is the horizontal velocity field in Nubian fixed reference plane. The scale here is 2 millimeter per year, and we can see that all the GPS stations in the eastern part do not show any significant horizontal velocity field. But on the other hand, the western side, the station base, we have a significant velocity along the station route, and slightly the station ELA 2, which is located close to the Galactic Pole, and also the station here, station card. So the eastern part of the west of the lake cluster is much active than the east of the you still remember that the velocity in that component, I have a scattering residual from that component, therefore I have used an application in order to illustrate the velocity in that component for this part of the equation, and I have used the INSAR. INSAR stands for Interferometric Significant Radar, and I think this one is sorry, I have the animation. direction. And here we can see how it works with different type of characteristics. We have here water and acidity on some grass and some trees. And yeah, from water and from the stations we cannot get any information because it's black, but we can get some information from the buildings and architects. Our study area is covered by just one track. It's called track 350 in the descending path. And in this work I have used the MBSAT satellite data because from DRS1 and DRS2 there is no any data for Aswan area. And also in the descending path there is no much data to process. I have just about one or two. This is available SAR data from MBSAT satellite vision. I have about 35 SAR themes. And here, this is a data processing scheme. So I have started from scratch because I have ordered the data in the row, in the level 0, so the data is needed to be focused. Before focusing, in the search processing, we selected one scene as a master and the other as a slave. So I have focused the row as a slave and the master into and converted into the singular complex, we call it SLC. And by using the singular complex and the orbit, two-size orbit, I have percent which is slave and master in order to have a better resolution. And then the oversam with the slave and master are co-registered. The co-registration it means that we should or we have to align both slave and master with the same geometry. And in this work I have aligned the slave to the geometry of the master C. The co-registration is done in two steps. First co-registration and final registration. And the co-registered pair of slave and master were used to create in the field graph. The field graph is the phase shift between the two SAR scenes. So what we already do in this step is to shift both images in order to have this fringes which we call it in the field graph. Okay? So with the field graph we can create or we can apply a PSI analysis. PSI is an acronym for persistence or permanent scatter asymmetry. And in this type of processing we are looking for the pixels which permanently scattering during our time field graph. So the primary selection is based on the amplitude dispersion, which is a ratio of the amplitude elevation and amplitude mean. And the final selection is based on the phase stability. And after this we unwrap the phase and unwrap phase and convert it into the life cycle state. This is what we are calling the PSI analysis. This is a very, very simple scheme for the PSI analysis. So go to what processing is the master C, because the master C should be in the middle, especially and temporary. So we get this is our master C in generate, and I have ignored all the scenes which have a larger perpendicular baseline, larger than 800 meters, and also the scenes which has a longer time period, more than 5 years with respect to the master scene. Going quickly to the results. Here we have the line of sight velocity field from the northern part of the cluster from insert. It is the first line of sight velocity field for this million PS. So it's amazing. You have every 25 meter we have a point that we can measure the velocity in the output. It's really interesting that we have a substance rate around the southern part of the glass and also slightly in the north of the part. But really strange that we don't have it here. It looks like stable, but also here. But if we look at the faults, you can see that we have here the Sayal fault and the Kalashnikov fault. Sayal fault is pure astraxic fault. Okay, so we don't expect any velocities in that component here. And also connection, because connection is a mix of normal fault destructive component, but it looks here like astraxic, pure astraxic. There's no any velocities along in that component along these two faults. Also, it's also interesting that we don't have here also a significant velocity in that component, maybe due to the extension of this fault from the north to the east, maybe of these two faults. I don't know. Yeah. So to conclude, I think I have just 1 minute. Because the first part deals with about 16 years of previous stages from Aswan area, and we illustrated the velocity, the local information in this part, and we have significant velocity in the eastern part, in the north, in the western part, but eastern part looks quite stable and velocities. And in SAR, we estimated that the substance are highly localized along the southern part of the glass and increases away from the lake. And of course we need more data. The outlook, actually, because I have just finished this one last week, so I think we need to do more. What is the relation between the width of the cluster and the substance is around this part, because this one is much larger than this one. Maybe there's a relation, I don't know, that I have to check. Also, can we say that the borders of the effect of the lake cluster of the load, maybe because we go this way and this way, there's no any velocity in that component, so we can see that this part is border cooling of this lake due to the load, the water here. I have to check also to compare the velocity inside the GPS, we need more GPS, permanent GPS stations in this part. We have here just one station installed last year, and we have another TV station for and we need more. Like, okay, the happy to if we can replace the local technology here by a permanent one, in order to compare the output component of GPS with the ones from inside. Because inside is the cannot work as standalone. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Mohammed. It's too bad, really. Let's entertain one question. One question, please. You can talk to you later. It's very interesting talk, but it's very unfortunate. So one question, please.
So according, thank you for your presentation. According to the map where you show the velocity of given by GPS, and they show the GPS.
Yes.
There's a movement toward
This one. Yeah.
previous one.
Previous one. Yes.
So you show that there is a motion toward the
northeast direction.
Yes, northeast.
Yeah.
I think that is, in my opinion, need to be clarified according to the stress field system. Since you think that the aspect of corruption and unstressed and non-informed, this is the first point. And also this direction, basically it's an exceptional movement.
Yeah.
my opinion, Israel is more
Actually, yeah, that's you can build any and if you remember the second slide that I showed, I have said that Egypt is affected by the spreading so of course it's a regional effect, also it's a local effect, and in order to demonstrate the local effect, we should remove the velocity of the nuclear plate itself to see what happened, what the local effect. And this is what I have done. I thought that you will ask about this one. This one's the most interesting. You don't do the previous one. Okay? Yeah, because the first one, there is no any interpretation can be built.
You can discuss later. We'll be with us. So.
Yeah. Okay.
The next talk, I would like to give the floor to Dr. Libra, Dr. Ashokana, led by CTO.
Okay, salam alaikum, just to show that I will be very short. I just want to make an announcement, and I have talked to several people already about this. For a few years now, the IDC of the CTBTO has been able to provide access to the archive for seismic, hydroacoustic, and infrasound. This is quite complete. All our archive for events older than 3 months. That's the restriction. You don't get things that are fewer than 3 months. The way it works is that there's a no-cost contract with a confidentiality clause that you're not giving all the data away. Very specific to the project that you're doing. Very simple, one-page proposal. There's no problem with publishing the results. Of course, you probably want to acknowledge the issue aspect, but publication is encouraged, and there's more information at that site. Thank you.
The problem with the microphone has not been solved yet, and so I don't know.
Is it okay if I talk aloud?
Yes.
I have experience on teaching, so no problem. I would like to present you my PhD study on post-seismic surface deformation in Zemmouri, in Algeria, and in Al-Husayma earthquakes. This work was actually mostly on post-seismic surface deformation, and I hope that it will give new perspective for further seismic hazard assessment studies. I was about to give some information about INSAR since you all are seismologists, but thanks to Mohammed, he already explained. I will just give some little information, and I will give brief information about the post-seismic mechanisms. And we have 2 case studies. I will try to call classically, and I will conclude from all case studies. So understanding the mechanics of earthquakes and the faults are important for building reliable seismic hazard assessments and better understanding of the earthquake deformation cycle. The simplest form of the earthquake cycle was built by Reed in 1910, and the earthquake deformation cycle is based on the cyclic build-up of the elastic strain around faults and release of the elastic strain, and which is complemented by the transient deformation, which is called as post-seismic deformation.
localized earthquakes. There are three different kind of mechanisms. The most common one is the afterslip, which in that one the motion continues after the earthquake on the same sense as coseismic slip, and mostly it's complementing the coseismic slip, but the previous studies shows that the afterslip is mostly confined on the very shallow depths. Viscoelastic relaxation is inelastic response of the earth due to the viscous deformation in lower crust or the upper mantle. And the pore elastic rebound is the change due to the pore fluid pressure during the earthquake. And this is not really common. There are just few examples like 1992 Landers earthquake and the 2003 Bomb earthquake. I will skip this part, and I just wanted to show you that we are in INSAR, we are using two images after and before the earthquake, and taking the phase difference of these two images to interpret the surface displacement map, which is called as interferograms. And we are also, we should not forget that we are calculating the line of sight displacement, which contains vertical and the horizontal displacement. And the interferometric phase do not only include the deformation phase change, it also includes atmospheric effects, orbit inaccuracies, topographic phase, and the noise because of the thermal and co-registration errors. And since we are interested with the deformation phase change, so we need to minimize all the other effects and the noise. And recent multi-temporal INSAR approaches are capable of minimizing the noise. And these methods generate time series of ground deformations for individual targets using multi-temporal SAR stacks. Relying on these targets have a constant echo over time. So here in these cartoons, you see the scatterers contributing on the phase of 1 pixel in SAR image. So the smaller scatterers you see here, the phase simulations for 100 iteration gives random movement, but if you have a brighter scatterer in 1 pixel, you have the persistency in the simulations. There are two broad categories of multi-temporal INSAR technique now. One is the persistent scatterer, which Mohammed already explained. We create interferograms using one master, and the other one is we create a network using the small perpendicular baseline, and while ensuring that there are no isolated clusters. Here in the study, I used the SPAMS code developed by Andy Hooper, and my study is I used the small baseline technique for obtaining my data. Here is the regions that we worked on: the North Anatolia, North Africa, the 2003 Zemmori earthquake in Algeria, and the other one is the 2004 Al Husseima earthquake. I will start with the 2003 Zemmori earthquake. This earthquake was interesting because it took place on an offshore fault and affected a large region along the coastline, and it also caused a tsunami. Here you see a picture of the coastal uplift after the earthquake. It has been done a coastal uplift measurements, and in this figure you see the coastal uplift measurements. So we had two distinct, mostly uplifted regions, one in Boumerdès and the other one in Cap Janet. And the coseismic study also suggested us two maximum slip distribution, which is consistent with the coastal uplift. This is the fault rupture suggested by Belabes et al. It is an offshore fault curved shape, dipping to the southeast with 40 to 50 degree. This frame is the NVSAT frame that I have used for the post-seismic deformation field. And this is the earthquake region. We had 31 NVSAT image and we created 81 interferograms using this network. And here you see the surface displacement map. If you notice, we have three regions with the red color. In this map, red colors means line of sight increase, and if we assume that this is a thrust fault, so the motion is vertical, we can assume that these are the subsidence. And if you remember from the coastal uplift measurements, we had the most uplifted regions in Bumurdes and Captanet, and now we observe subsidence. And we also have subsidence in Mitidja Basin, but it is used for the agriculture and made of soft sediments, so, and it's further away from the fault, and this is our fault that we obtained from the inversion on post-seismic interferograms. And if we look on the time series in Bumurdes, we see the exponential decay over time, and the same also in Capjanet. And this is the characteristic behavior of the post-seismic deformation. But we don't see this exponential behavior in Mitidja Basin, and we see the good correlation between ground water level change and the time series. So we can say that this subsidence here is not related with the earthquake. We have performed inversion modeling to obtain the slip distribution of the post-seismic deformation, and we obtained a shallow after slip with a maximum of 65 centimeter of vertical motion. And if we plot the post-seismic slip distribution, we see our after slip is complementing the post-seismic slip distribution, which is a common behavior of the after slip. And here you see the surface displacement map obtained from the inversion. We obtained the two distinct region subsidence here. And if we look on the fault parallel profiles, here is the blue dots are the data and the red line is the model, so they are consistent, and the green line shows us the post-seismic surface displacement, which is the opposite sense of the post-seismic, and this is what we were expecting from a shallow after slip motion. And we see the same behavior to the fault in the fault perpendicular profile. So to summarize, INSAR data shows two distinct subsidence regions in Bumurdes and Capjanet, and post-seismic signal has opposite sense of displacement compared to post-seismic signal, and post-seismic deformation can be explained by shallow after slip, and the post-seismic and post-seismic slip distributions appears to be complementary, and subsidence in Mitidja Basin is non-tectonic origin. So I will continue with the 2004 Al Husayma earthquake. 1994 and 2004 earthquakes affected the Al Husayma region within 10 years, and they occurred on conjugate faults, as can be seen from the focal mechanisms. And 2004 earthquake was related with the northwest-southeast trending right lateral strike slip fault. I wanted to show you the previous post-seismic INSAR studies, because when we look, they look quite similar, but there are some differences in between these three studies. Like Tahait et al., he suggested a fault branches. The main one is northwest-southeast trending right lateral strike slip fault, but the other branch is conjugate to the other one. And Biggs et al., she suggested also the linear fault. And Chakar et al., he suggested a curved shaped strike slip fault. So if we are working on post-seismic deformation, we should have a reliable post-seismic fault rupture model. That's why we needed to remodel the post-seismic interferograms. We used NVSAT data on ascending and descending frames. These are the frames that I have used, and both of them covers the region well. I will start with the post-seismic to show why also we needed to improve the post-seismic. We have 15 images in both tracks, and the data covers 7 years in descending and 3 years on ascending track. Here the data we obtained from the INSAR time series. This is the fault rupture model suggested by Chakar et al. So you can see the northern part of the fault is consistent with the ascending data on the northern section, but it's not consistent with the data on the southern section in both of the data. So we needed to put a step on a fault to obtain a better result. And this is the post-seismic interferograms. We have 3 lobes in descending track and 2 lobes, and this region is the line of sight decrease region, so we have a right lateral strike slip fault. We can see it from the INSAR data. So we placed our fault on in between the 0 line of sight deformation field and put the step according to the both post-seismic and post-seismic data. And here is the inversion results. We obtained slip distribution maximum in between 4 to 6 kilometers. That's up to 2.2 meters. And we obtained the main features of the interferograms, can be seen from here, and these are the residuals. Because of the fault rupture complexity, we still have residuals here quite high. And also we should not forget that these interferograms cover 4 aftershocks magnitude bigger than 5. And I am not happy with the post-seismic modeling. I have tried single fault rupture and multiple fault ruptures to explain the post-seismic data, but I still couldn't finish it, so I'm not going to talk about it a lot. But to conclude, both of them, post-seismic displacements here indicate up to 3 centimeter uplift and subsidence, and remodeling of post-seismic suggests a left band or step along the northwest-southeast trending fault. These are questions. And after slip appears to be the most common post-seismic mechanism among the all post-seismic deformation mechanisms. And this study illustrates again that after slip and post-seismic slip are complementary, and the post-seismic cumulative moment release may reach to 15 to 25 of the post-seismic moment release, and there are some examples which reach to 70% of the post-seismic moment release. And this study also shows that INSAR time series techniques are capable of mapping the subtle surface displacements such as post-seismic. So here I just wanted to suggest for the further seismic hazard assessment studies that post-seismic also should be included for the further studies, because 15 to 25 even also is quite high moment release. And thank you.
So we have time for a couple of quick questions. Any?
Did you compare your afterslip with the aftershocks at all, and if so, how do they compare?
Assembly, I didn't have aftershocks, but now I'm comparing with the El Husseima case because I obtained the aftershocks data. So I have them, but I couldn't finish the modeling, so just wanted to show you because I just passed this part, I think. Now we started to think that maybe we have post-seismic triggered fault range here on the northern section of the El Husseima fault. And this might be also an indicator in the aftershocks that this southwest trending fault can be visible here.
So let's move to the next lecture by Oasis on active deformation in Tunisia, present day kinematic pattern. Here. Oasis.
Good afternoon, everybody. First of all, I would like to thank the organizing committee for this nice and very interesting meeting. I'll present you the active deformation in Tunisia, the present day kinematic model. When we speak seismotectony and seismology aspects in Tunisia that need more time, and to inform you that were presented in the terrace 3 posters about stress field evolution in Tunisia from Paleozoic to present day, and historical seismicity in Tunisia, and some case staging of active seismic zones. This presentation is around the following introduction: geotectonic evolution and stress indicators, pleistocene deformation, the Eocene deformation, and the quaternary evolution. After that, seismicity and some deformation, the distribution of seismicity, earthquake focal mechanism, major active fault, and seismogenic source. Then the co-seismic rupture surface and the present day kinematic model conclusions. What is the objective and the approach? To construction the paleostratigraphy, the quaternary, the better understanding the seismic distribution of focal mechanism, and what is the present-day kinematic model of Africa, Europe plates. We use an integrated multidisciplinary approach based on identification of active faults, their motion and displacement, geomorphic aspects, scarps, and their relation within the general
structurally of Tunisia, the analysis of plate tectonic deformation affecting quaternary deposits in several sites throughout Tunisia, and the relationship between active faults and seismic events. Tunisia, as you know, occupies privileged place for geodynamic reconstruction of the northern African margin, since it is characterized by the presence of well-exposed tectonic feature and co-seismic rupture. Due to its key position within the African-Europe convergence zone, Tunisia is marked by thrusting, folding, and faulting, and has a major rupture zones associated with active faults. Consequently, most of Tunisia land is seismically active, with a significant historical and active deformation showing recent seismic and their relative surface effects. As we know, and after previous work, Tunisia is subdivided into several morphostructural domains. From south to the north, the south of Tunisia sub-Saharan platform, the southern Tunisian Atlas, and the Tunisian Atlas belt, which extends to Morocco, and the north-south axis, and the oriental Tunisian platform, and the Italian domain. The dominant tectonic regional features are presented by thrusting, faults, folding, and diaphysics. These features were extensively studied by previous authors. However, the identification of active faults, like this in the Gardimau fault, the Anis Monastir Korba fault, the Kasserin Shirishira fault, the north-south axis, the Gafsa fault, the Bitawi fault, and the Agare fault, also Gafsa Jeffara fault. An extensive analysis of related tectonic deformation that affect quaternary deposits has been carried out in many sites zones. Recently, new data are related to the seismic events that took place during the last decade. From the new tectonic evolution, we can distinguish two major events: the Campanian phase that to the formation of the Central Tunisian Atlas, and the second tectonic events that north-northwest, south-southeast to north-west Haute-Villa-Franken fault, which reactivated the early structures. These two paroxysmal events are interpreted by northeast and southwest nucleus extension and inner extensional events during the quaternary. Numerous events prevailing and both extensive and compressive regime are generally related to the seismotectonic activities. Detailed analysis of recent structure observed and measured in the quaternary deposits are shown as below. The post-early Pleistocene deformation that affect the Villa-Frankian crust. It represents an excellent record of the tectonic activity and deconstructs normal strike-slip fault system, and the results are well argued by various stranded compression and extension to note northwest southeast extension and compression, transpression strike-slip force, and north-south compression. either Pleistocene deformation, like as you see the quaternary, the Tyrrhenian marine deposit in the oriental coast of Tunisia, the Tyrrhenian that showing the strike slip fault and the reverse fault and the extensional, the normal fault. The post-Holocene deformation as the terrace, the Holocene terrace has recorded alluvial deposits, record subvertical, asymmetric to metric normal fault with oblique slip movement criteria indicating the later on reactivation on strike slip fault. And the slip down here is a few meters. To summarize this, in this table, the field investigation and stress analysis revealed 4 tectonic deformational events represented by north 100 north-northwest south-southeast compression associated with 60 north 60 80 extensional compressional strike slip regime affecting both continental and marine Pleistocene deposits, and 20 to 40 degrees clockwise rotation of Pallistress field within Tyrrhenian marine deposits, north-northeast south-southwest extension of Holocene age and after strike slip reactivation. For the seismicity aspect, activity and active deformation, the earthquake focal mechanism analysis. Tunisia is currently continued tectonic activity, actually represented by moderate seismicity, which magnitude runs from 2 to 5. The main activity is located around the active zone at the front of the Tyrrhenian chain, and most of active fault. The calculate mechanism of stress tensor are coherent with focal solution of the major earthquakes. I would like to, I will present you some examples of the active fault of Gafsa and the Metlawi fault, trending and the CDH fault, trending northwest southeast. And seismic activity are focused around the reactive pre-existing northwest southeast major faults of the Gafsa and their satellite Metlawi and CDH. This is the Gafsa active fault. The deformation feature recorded in the lower Pleistocene continental deposits are represented by strike slip dominated by approximately north-south trending compression associated with nearly east-west extension, and northeast-southwest determined in the Gafsa active faults. In the CDH, in the Metlawi faults, the major rupture of Metlawi faults characterizing strike slip steel deformation with the north 154 trending sigma 1 and 64 trending sigma 3. The current seismicity or co-seismic surface rupture like as in the Metlawi surroundings, November 7th in 89 earthquake in Metlawi, the magnitude 4.4, produced 5 km wide surface rupture zone with a complex strike faulting 120 to 140 dextran and one north-south sinistral initial region. This is open cracks appeared in the quaternary glasses in the form of vertical rupture in initial suggesting north-northwest, south-southeast. For the present day, this figure suggests the present day kinematic model, that interpretative model of the surface of Metlawi, displaying strike slip initial system and suggesting north-northwest, south-southeast trending sigma. For the CDH active fault, this is the school of CDH, damaged by earthquake in 2 March 19 and 2009. And this is the school and the effect of this. In the perspective, now we paid an attention to characterize some effects of a tsunami, like as here in the Hergla coast region in the oriental Tunisia, where the Tyrrhenian and the boulders. But there are also some other figures in Tunisia characterizing the tsunami effect. In conclusion, the mechanism of most Tunisian earthquake combined with existing tectonic information as well as reconstructed quaternary stress tensor allowed to confirm the presence of compressive tectonic regime with a shortening axis oriented north-northwest, south-southeast to north-south. These events are likely related to the destroying earthquake during the last decades. The identification of seismogenic source most fault exhibited a typical system in echelon with the strike slip component pattern, suggesting that Tunisia is presently subjected to north-northwest, south-southeast compression. It was concluded that the main source of seismic activity in Tunisia is essentially caused by interplate deformation around major active fault during the last 50 years. Several destructive earthquakes occurred in the northern African margin to this continuous tectonic regime between Africa and Europe convergence. And thank you very much.
Thank you, Samir, for the nice photographs and examples of faulting. Do you have a slip rates on these faults? Have any slip rates calculated on the plot?
The Rose diagram.
Not the Rose diagram, slip rate. The rate of slip. How much? 10 centimeters max. J'ai pas fait, on n'a pas encore vu. Donc c'est pas
going to tell us about the seismotectonic map and the geodynamic evolution of North Africa.
Thank you, Antonella. I'm back to you again. It's a day. My talk now is different than our this morning. I'm going to begin about electronic map on the hydrologic evolution in Northwest Africa, especially in the Maghreb area. My colleagues, Mega Mustafa Megawi, Kudu Farida, Said Maouch, Khabir Asia from Prague, Timur Ali, and Surat from Morocco, Sumaya from Tunisia, and Mahmoud from University of Evora, Portugal. This work has been done in the framework of the IGCP 601. So what I'm going to show you now is part of the work that Mustafa showed us before. Again, within our project, the region is the province number 2, which came from the division of the African continent in the framework of IGCP 601. I resume Mustafa before during work has given more detail about how we produce the generally. But here I'm just giving you from indication. We need the assessment catalog, a complete assessment catalog, especially with a reliable location, not only listing of epicenters, but we have to check the localization of the various epicenters that we are going to produce and to show on the map. The second thing is the database of problem solutions. So each event should have a problem solution. Of course, we are not going to show all the focal mechanism for events less than 4, but we need to have at least all the events that have magnitude 4 and above. We need also database of active faulting. Not all the faults, but only the faults that are able to generate earthquakes. Because many people make confusion by sometimes highlighting or showing faults that are not able to generate earthquakes. So active faulting is very important to be checked so that it will be on the map. The second thing is the other database is stress field, and stress fields can be derived from various experiments. If you can have stress field derived by converting a solution, or we can get it by on-site by geological investigation. We need also geodetic data that can be obtained by GPS networks, or and also velocities that can be obtained by seismic moment summation. All the geophysical data could be also added to the on the map so that it can be used and highlighted. For the seismicity, this is the database we have used, and all the events here are above magnitude 4. We start from the outward protection, crossing all the Maghreb area, up to Tunisia, and after that coming to Italy, defining the trade boundary between the Eurasian and African trade. We have also a database of solution for the significant earthquakes. The majority of these events are reverse fault. We have also some structural faults in the coastal part, but the majority of the events are reverse fault. The map we have produced is based on various studies, private studies,
Buhari has been organized by AFSC3 in 1999 concerning the eastern part of Algeria. The Dakwa that produced by Mustafa in El Aslan Basin, following the large event of October 10, 1980, 7.3, and Libya Basin, where occurred the recent event of the Zumuri earthquake of May 21st, 2003, 6.8. And we have also another map in the western part of Algeria. Regarding the event that occurred in 1994. This is just an example of electronic maps that have been produced by various studies. All of